Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Tone's Market Analysis for Sunday, April 9th. So much stuff is going on, pretty much in Bitcoin, well, in geopolitics as well, which I may or may not briefly talk about during this episode. Almost forgot that it was Sunday. Just 30 minutes ago, I realized, whoa, I have so many followers in Europe that I really do need to get these started around 6 p.m. Just so that, people there can watch it. And let's get the show on the road. Have not had time to update my blog. Oh, God, it's getting bad. Like my content is piling up, and it does need to go to the blog. So I'll really try and get to it this week. Okay. But let's just jump right onto the markets. Here's the S&P 500. And again, you can see how drew this downtrend multiple days ago, and we're so far following it. I'm now going to go ahead and draw a supporting trend line. We'll make this one green. I can probably start all the way down here even. Looks really, really clean. I'm going to block that 50-day moving average. I know it starts to get busy here, but yeah, I didn't really want to block the 50-day moving average, but it looks like that's how it's going to be. And then I can go ahead and extend this one like yay. And you can see right now the price is being supported by the 50-day moving average, and by that trend line, it's being resisted by the downward trend line, and it's going to come to a point. And very, very soon, we're going to figure out which way the sucker is going to break. If I am forced to guess, and this is not a bet I'm willing to make, but if I'm forced to guess, I would say we're going to break out. This is my more likely scenario. This isn't the scenario I would bet a lot of money on, because this is close to 50-50. It's not like a descending triangle or an ascending triangle where you have like a 75% chance of knowing which direction it's going to go to. In this case, it is a little closer to 50-50. I don't remember the exact statistics. But so you have to wait for the break. So basically, you would wait for it to go above 2380 to give you an indication that we're going to break out, or you would wait till you get below 2340, and that would give you an indication to the downside. Of course, there's still room for a fake out. So basically, just because it's above 2380, it gives you more probability that it's going to make all-time highs. But as long as it stays below this first support line, it's very easy to do a head fake and then crash. The same works in reverse. So I'm actually going to draw another trend line right here. So I'm going to take the bottom of this candle. It's debatable if I should take the bottom of the intraday bottom or the bottom of the candle. But it doesn't really matter, right? So as long as it stays in between these trend lines, there is still a probability of a head fake and immediate flip to the other side. So this is going to be a very, very tricky situation, but I'm going to leave this arrow as is. I am going to be very, very curious which way the stock market is going to break, because it's very likely to break, and pretty significantly. All right, so let's save that. Let's see if the weekly chart is in the way of anything we think on the daily chart. And it's not. The weekly chart pulled back right to the Fibonacci extension, which I was okay with. And I am expecting the weekly prices to go up and make new all-time highs. Again, I'm expecting a good year for the stock market. That's where my retirement money is, 100% stocks. Okay, gold. Gold was interesting, right? So, and this is the geopolitics I was talking about 20 minutes ago. So, drew this in last time because gold was making a pretty damn good bullish pattern. it made this cup and handle on the daily chart. I'm going to zoom in a little here for you guys. You know what? Let me send this to the back. Send to back. And same here. Send to back. So they're not in the way as much. Okay, so it was making this nice cup and handle, suggesting a breakout, and it broke out. So on this trade, my well, potentially theoretical trade, or a trade I would do in one broker for a few $100, nothing serious. I was looking to go bullish. Now remember, when your trade becomes profitable, you really want to set a break-even stop loss, right? So sorry about that, guys. Sound went away for a minute. So you really want to set a break-even stop loss. So I'm actually still in this trade, even though the stop loss here is fairly tight. Gold's in a tricky situation. It still looks bullish, but remember this right here. I put it here for a reason. On the weekly chart, 1260 was going to be resistance. So after gold breaks out, if it would have gotten anywhere near 1260, the wise thing to do as a trader is to set a stop loss right above your entry point, so that no matter what happens, your trade will always make you money. Maybe it'll make you a cup of coffee, but it shouldn't lose you money at that point. Once your trade has made some money where you're debating taking a profit, at the least you should set a break-even stop loss, or I like setting my stop losses just above entry point, so that I'm not upset if it then flips and goes the other way. That's what kind of would have happened on the short side here, and it would have been, a trade that would have made a cup of coffee. This trade could have done the same. So it's actually in the same area where it was before the breakout. This trade has been entered, and right now it's down about $5. $5 per ounce of gold. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes further. Now, of course, even though the daily chart remains bullish, the weekly chart is very bearish. We were unable to close the week above the 50-week moving average. And if we had done that, we would have gotten stuck right at the downward trending resistance line. So the weekly chart remains bearish. There's really nothing else to say on the weekly chart. All right, let me start closing some of these guys. Oh, you know what? I'm going to talk about silver. I did open a silver chart. So silver did get beat up a lot more than gold did, percentage-wise. Silver is in a very neutral area right now. It's a cluster. Like, look at this. The MACD, 0. RSI, right in the middle. Price, the declining 200-day moving average and the inclining 50-day moving average are right at the crossover. We are making yet another lower high. I mean, silver as neutral right now as it can get. Like, I can't picture anything more neutral, not knowing if it's ready to break out or break down. This is the weekly chart, I believe. Yeah, weekly chart of silver. Nothing. This is I've never seen. I don't know if I've ever seen a chart where I've been as 50-50 as to the direction of where this potentially go next on any asset than what I'm looking at silver right now. There's absolutely nothing to say. At least for me. I mean, other technical analysts might see something different. I see absolutely nothing in the weekly chart of silver, and I'm even afraid to pull up the daily. It's probably going to be all over the place also. So here is something that is still, I believe, remains useful. On a long-term view of gold versus silver, these are long-term trends that usually last for years. And this looks very, very clean in that the value of, this is the ratio of gold versus silver, and it's going down, and it's creating this little triangle here, and it's about to make a deft cross. Once it makes a deft cross, you can see one right here, right? And then those are golden crosses. And let's see the prior deft cross right here. Here's another deft cross. That's as far as this chart goes, back to 1998. So once this cross has been made, it doesn't cross again for years. And it's on the verge of making that cross. I mean, it's possible that this could go haywire and go back up, but highly unlikely. So in this scenario, the silver should be outperforming gold for the next several years. Does that automatically mean that they both go up and silver goes up faster? Some people believe that that's exactly what it means. I am a little skeptical on that. All it means to me is that silver is going to outperform gold. And I personally do not see a problem with both of them falling, only gold falling faster than silver. I know some people will tell me that's impossible, but in the market, nothing's impossible. And this chart is simply telling me that for the next 3 years, silver will outperform gold. Whether they are both going to fall or both going to rise or both going to stay flat or flattish, that is to be seen. Okay, but I'm keeping an eye on this deft cross right here. All right, let's close this. Let's close silver, our useless silver chart. Here's gold. I didn't really draw anything, and here's the daily gold. I didn't really draw anything either. All right, oil. So oil, so here, this is the big, I guess, elephant in the room, right? Or gorilla in the room. I'm not even sure what the right phrase is. It technically bounced off of the 50-day moving average, and it's going up, right? So here's a weird dynamic, right? So I got, I don't know, I don't even know the right adjective to use. So recently when I spoke at the Philly Bitcoin meetup, I said something kind of tongue-in-cheek a little bit, where I said, well, since I have a chunk of my future is dependent on the value of Bitcoin going up, and to me, Bitcoin's use case is censorship-resistant payments. So in a way, me becoming rich is directly proportional to government's war on cash and government's war on drugs. Because if drugs become legalized, that is a huge Bitcoin use case that goes away. And some people took that very, very seriously, to the point where they've made videos calling me a statist and I'm for the drug war and all this stuff, right? So here's another example of this, right? If you're a trader and you threw your entire portfolio at the futures of oil, expecting it to bounce off the 50-day moving average and for the price of oil to go to 65, you are now financially invested to the United States and Donald Trump bombing the Middle East and causing havoc there, disrupting the oil market. Because that raises the price of oil because it's uncertainty and it's disruption. So it's just the reality of the situation. So if you are set to be a very rich man or woman, from the value of oil going up, you want geopolitical instability, especially in the Middle East, where most of the oil is still being created. It's just the reality of the situation. It doesn't really mean you're for war. It doesn't mean you're, for death and destruction. But it does mean that you financially benefit if you bought oil last week and all of a sudden Syria is being bombed, because Syria is still an oil producer. Okay, so it's just reality. Okay, you can hate me all you want for saying it, but it's just reality. Okay, so if geopolitical situation erupts even worse to where other countries are being bombed in the Middle East, well, guess what? The price of oil will rise because oil supplies will be disrupted. Okay, and since the United States is now a big oil producer, in a way, it helps the U.S. if the oil prices go up. The only people that get hurt with the price of oil going up is the consumer. The regular people get hurt. Governments benefit greatly from the high price of oil because they tax our oil. They tax our use of oil. The higher the price of oil, the more you pay at the pump, and the bigger the tax at the pump when you fill up your car. So, and many governments, directly profit from the price of oil, like Venezuela, Russia, Iran. The government controls the oil resources. Well, in Russia, maybe not necessarily the government, but they're pretty in line with government. So you just have to keep in mind that like you are given the opportunity to invest in these instruments. Same thing with gold. You are given the opportunity to invest in gold and silver in the futures market, where you can naked short, buy or sell. Anybody can do it, right? If you have $100 million, you can probably put a long or a short position on silver with $100 million that has a notional greater than the entire year production of silver. You have the ability to do that. Government regulations allow you to do it. If you remove that ability, I don't know what the price of oil and gold would be. The liquidity would dry up, in my opinion. But I don't trade those instruments anymore. They were a little too volatile for me, and the notional was a bit too much. But I do trade them in my one broker account, which, by the way, is very, very risky. I'll get to that in a minute, probably. Thank you. I just broke 100 live viewers, so that's awesome. All right, so that's oil. Let's close that. The euro, well, not doing too well. Man. It's gonna break apart. It's gonna go down, and we'll see. All hell's gonna break loose when it's approaching parity. Holy shit! Just wait. It's gonna be fun. As usual, here's another trade that is currently in the money. So at this point, you really want to set a break-even stop. I can't really do that with this, but just so you know, if I'm in this trade, I would set my break-even stop at around, the entry was 0.875. This is shorting the euro versus the pound. So this is EURGBP. So you're short the euro against the pound, and the entry was 0.875. And I would now set a stop loss around 0.87, just to make sure that nothing that can happen at this point would cause this to be a losing trade. And then just ride it and then see how far it goes. All right, guys, feel free to start throwing questions in there with the capital word question. If I can get to those today, maybe I'll try and keep this video to under an hour in total. Been going for about 20 minutes. Yeah, I do. Oh, by the way, in the description of my video, I went back. I found my old affiliate code to BitMax. I totally forgot. These affiliate codes are useful. I don't really trade on BitMax anymore, but I was a beta tester back for that platform like 2 years ago. I probably, could have gotten some referrals if I was, showing that referral code on all my videos for the last year and a half or so, but I don't even know why I didn't. Again, it's hard for me to recommend any kind of a Bitcoin trading platform because everything is a Bitfinex situation where it can be hacked. Everything is a crypto situation where they can just run away with the Bitcoin. It's a totally unregulated space. But what it's good for is to practice small trades. It's great for like a trade with a notional of $100. a trade with a value of $100, right? I don't recommend putting all your Bitcoins there. I don't recommend like trading everything there, okay? Yeah, but if you are going to use those, yeah, please use my affiliate codes. All they do is, instead of them making 100% commission on your trade, I think Bitfinex gives you a discount if you use someone's affiliate code, so your trades become cheaper, and they throw me a few cents from every trade. And I believe one broker does the same. I mean, instead of them making 100% commission, they make like 85% commission, and then you keep like 15% of that commission. So it's really pretty cool. Some affiliate codes, not cloud mining affiliate codes. That's just those are kind of scammy. But yeah, but they are risky. Like I fully expect that Bitcoin to one day be stolen. Not by them, but like just hacked. Like I only trust myself with security. But I think they're cool platforms. They're especially cool platforms to those that don't have access to the traditional markets. So if you are in some country where you can't trade the S&P 500, they're awesome. Well, one broker for that. You can throw your Bitcoin at the S&P 500, and you can take advantage of the price of the stocks going up, which I think they will. All right, so here's Bitcoin. And man, this weekly chart looks beautiful. We're now fully back above Bitstamps and Bitfinex 2013 all-time high. I mean, there's really nothing stopping us. It's just the all-time high came in February. I mean, come on, that's unbelievable. It looks so clean. There's nothing I can say. Here is my Brave New Coin Liquid Index. It's going to update in about 3 hours, and we're going to be all the way up here at about 12:15 or so. We're above where I expected us to be by this time. I expected us to still be in the 1175 range mid next week, and then I expected us to break out. And this was put together back in late January or something like that. And yeah, so it's doing great. No problems at all. Like again, if you didn't know there was a scaling debate, this would be beautiful. Someone made a joke on Twitter the other day, asked me how my P&L was in my crypto trading. And I'm going to take a look at how my P&L is in my crypto trading. So it looks like on January for the year, it looks like on January 1st, the price of Bitcoin was $980. And right now, the price of Bitcoin is 1,220. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pull out my calculator. And I'm just going to divide 1220 by 980. And my crypto trading this year has returned me 24.5%. Okay, so I made almost 25% in my crypto trading this year. So if your portfolio has done better than 24.5% so far for the year, you've done very well. But that's how my crypto trading has done. Okay, because I didn't trade anything. I just held on to my Bitcoin. Okay, next. Oh yeah, the daily chart, right in the middle of the channel. Everything's beautiful. Broke through the 50-day moving average. Looking great. I mean, hey, all-time highs. Like that's the next target right there. There's a spike. There's that stupid spike to 1350. I wouldn't even count that, right? Like, let's get above 1300 and we're set. We're set. New all-time closing day high. So, you know what? Let me pull this up here. All right, let me zoom in on this sucker. All right, so I tweeted this out the other day, and I put this channel in here. By the way, I said this before we got there. I said, well, once we got to my 1175 target, once we got to here, make it green. It's positive news. Once we got to right here, I sent a tweet saying that the target was reached, and I expected some indecision for the news to be absorbed. So I was yellow is probably not the best color. Let's do orange. So I kind of expected this, and then this, and then this, and then how far are we? Yeah, to about the 12. This is kind of what I was expecting, and then that. So that was kind of my view. That's why I put this yellow channel here, because like the information needs to process, like as blockers have something else up their sleeve. Like how often has ASICBoost covert ASICBoost has been used, and all this stuff, you know. So it was it was to me there was going to be time to like process all that information. So it looks like the market has processed that information a little faster than I expected. But hey, this is what speculation is. If you're going to wait for the resolution of the scaling debate, you're going to miss all the gains. It's just the way it is. This volume spike was very nice. And yeah, so now 1200, yeah, now this is a strong support zone, guys. It's very possible we just go up from here. I'm fairly bullish. I now fully believe that SegWit is going to be forced by the users onto the miners, and the miners, played their hand a little too much. They thought they were more important than they are, and they're not. We can users can force the miners to do whatever we like. And that's it. So the daily chart has broken out of the indecision zone to the upside. It's still possible it's a head fake, but not likely. So I'm bullish, guys. I don't know what else to say. Let's go back to the daily chart. Let's make sure we didn't miss anything. The MACD is beautiful, just crossed down here. It going into positive territory. Nothing there. The RSI is not overbought, so we got plenty of upside. Personally, I want to see RSI be higher than the RSI here. So I actually need the RSI to break 81. It needs to go way overbought into 81 to give us a higher high and a higher RSI. And that would be a huge bullish sign for everybody. I like the fact that the RSI did officially go oversold, maybe right on the edge there. So that's clean. So I'm happy about that. All right. That's about it. I don't know what else I can mention other than just want to point to this chart that I tweeted out right before. Ironically, this was tweeted out right before the ASICBoost scandal was uncovered. And this is what happens when the big blockers and those that want a hard fork start, getting serious about a hard fork. The price, all momentum ends and price drops, and then momentum picks up, and then here come the hard forkers and big blockers, and boom, momentum gets killed. And then here they did it again. Here is Bitmain announcing that they're gonna start signaling for the hard fork. Sorry, not for the hard, signaling for the hard fork, and boom, the price crashes. And then when the nodes crash, the price stops going down. And when the world realizes that they can't do shit, they can't hard fork Bitcoin, we get this. So let's enjoy that going into next year. All right, let's hope. Okay, on that note, I'm going to look at questions. Richie Rich, thank you for helping out. Guys, thank you for your support. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for watching me live. Got about 150 live viewers right now. My videos are now gaining about 3,000 views per video. I recently took a snapshot of my YouTube profile. As you can see, the average view duration is going up, but also my videos have started to get longer. But that's a pretty good average view duration right there. 15 minutes, 18 minutes. That's good. It means you guys have a long attention span. I have picked up 1,500 Twitter followers just in the last month. These are not fake numbers. These are all real numbers. I wish I had time to figure out how to. I mean, I wouldn't want to, right? Like I've never done anything with fake numbers. My YouTube channel, I created it on the last day of August of last year. My first video came after October 3rd. So my YouTube channel is only about 6 months old, and already have over 3,000 YouTube subscribers. My most popular videos were, of course, the scaling debates with Roger, and the video that spiked my dislikes was, of course, Dash. Shows you what kind of troll army they got behind them. My Dash is a scam video, like tripled my dislikes, and that's okay. That's fair. But yeah, here are some of my stats. So that was fun. That was fun to look at. I just did that yesterday. But thank you for your support. All right, I'm gonna start taking a look at questions and zoom this out here. Let's hope they don't bust momentum again. Let's hope we get this nice exponential rise that actually lasts this time. All right, question. Do you think now that Bitfinex has actually become solvent again, it's actually the one exchange that may not be a scam after all? Bitfinex was never really a scam. Bitfinex, I think Bitfinex is actually run by some of the most responsible people in the space. These people come from traditional Wall Street, so they understand responsibility, because on Wall Street, if you screw up, you go to prison. You don't usually get to run away. The problem with Bitfinex was how good their tech was, how good their security was, and on several occasions that failed them. Also, I believe, and no one will, from Bitfinex will confirm, I believe that Bitfinex attempt to comply with regulation led to the last hack. I believe that the fine that they got from the CFTC, was in order to make sure these accounts settle. I think that caused them to redo. This is my speculation. This is just Tone speculating. Bitfinex got fined by the CFTC because it had to do because if they wanted to comply with CFTC's regulation on leverage trading, they had to settle positions. Normally, leverage futures trading that CFTC overseas, settled monthly. That's what Bitfinex should have done. They should have just settled monthly. But I think they decided to settle daily or settle way more often. I'm guessing here. That caused them to redo the way they do cold storage. And they screwed up, or somebody found a weakness there. And I think that had a lot to do with it. So I'm sure they spent a lot more money on their security, and they're better. But as far as the people running it, are they responsible? Yeah. Do they know what they're doing? Yeah, probably much better than anybody else in the space. I guess they're probably more experienced at running an exchange than the Winklevi brothers are. I can guarantee you that. And they were going to do the ETF. So there you go. Yeah. So they're yeah. I mean, you don't know if they're going to get hacked again or not. I mean, I wouldn't give Bitfinex my Bitcoins, but But yeah, they're probably one of the more responsible ones out there. At what price breakout would you say gold is back in bullish mode and possible break all-time highs? All right, well, means I have to go pull up my chart of gold again. That's okay, I'll do that. And while that loads, I'll take the next question. Let me grab the weekly chart of gold here. All right, so let that load, and then we'll go to the next question. What's a Litecoin going to do in the next week? I have no clue. Why and how will that pair with the Bitcoin issues? I really don't want to pull up a Litecoin chart. I don't want this show to become, altcoin trading show. This is why Tone Vase now has a consulting service where for an hourly fee, we can talk about Litecoin in detail. I will pull up all the charts. We can do it right there. We can both take a look at it. Litecoin, I said it, I was quoted in it in an article a week ago. Litecoin, the money in Litecoin has been made. All the value has gone up, expecting SegWit. If Litecoin can get to 75% for 2 weeks sustained to get SegWit, the price of Litecoin is going to crash back to where it started. If Litecoin can get SegWit, it might go up, a few more bucks, but not much. I don't expect a pump in Litecoin. Okay. Now, this is also because clearly there is an assumption in Bitcoin that Bitcoin is going to get SegWit, right? So in order for Litecoin to go back to 50 and 100 and, whatever, Bitcoin needs to be in a position where SegWit is not likely, and Litecoin has to be in a position where SegWit is guaranteed. And when Litecoin's SegWit support jumped to 70%, the view was that Litecoin SegWit is guaranteed. But then it dropped back down to 60, and we're not really going to get into those reasons because there's everyone that doesn't want SegWit on Bitcoin is also financially invested in not wanting SegWit on Litecoin either, because that would help bring SegWit onto Bitcoin. It's all game theory, guys. Everything is a prisoner's dilemma in a way. So the price of Litecoin right now is going to be completely proportional to SegWit support on Litecoin. But the easy money has already been made. Okay, so that's how I see it. So here's gold. So for me, gold is in bullish territory when we get a weekly close above this $13.75 Fibonacci line. Okay, so it's right here, 13.79, right? So I would need a gold close above this. And that would set me bullish. It may not set me bullish for new all-time highs, but it will certainly set me bullish to about 1,500 or at least 1,480. So I need a break above this trend line in order to then expect 13.75. Once we get to 13.75, we make a double top. And everyone that's watched more than one of these videos before knows that I do not consider double tops a sustainable high to reverse the price. I expect a double high to be broken to the upside, just like I expect a double low to be broken to the downside. So once we can break above this moving average, I'll probably be forced to go bullish until the double top at 13.75, in which case I'll be forced to go bullish till the next Fibonacci line. And then at this Fibonacci line or this Fibonacci line, I would once again be bearish. And if we can break above this Fibonacci line at 1580-ish, then we can talk about the 1800 high. and the all-time high. And once we get to the all-time high, at that point, we once again become double topped. And my theory on double tops is that they're meant to be broken. So once we can get back to the 1920 area, even if we reverse from there, I will then be bullish to maybe 3,000 gold, 5,000 gold maximum. And that would probably be the last historical high for gold. But we'll got plenty of time to talk about that. Let's hope I'm alive when all that happens. But yeah, but right now, there's absolutely no reason to be bullish here. I still find it hard to believe that this is the decade low. I still think there'll be a lower low this decade. I have not seen anything in the charts to convince me that the decade low has been reached. Okay, so that's covered. Litecoin's covered. Gold's covered. Next question. How do you differentiate or rationalize between investing in the stock market versus Bitcoin? Bitcoin is significantly more speculative, way more speculative. It's like a huge difference. It's like a risk-reward thing. The stock market is just so much safer than Bitcoin. Look, we almost freaking hard forked. If we had hard forked, that's it. I think the Bitcoin experiment dies. The crypto experiment dies. And I don't think we're going to hard fork. If we are, it's going to be like clams, right? No one's going to follow the other chain. So let me pull up my historical chart of the stock market, which I do need to publish somewhere. I don't know where, at least on TradingView, I guess. INDU historical, and I'll let that load while I look at the next question. Do you know a broker that accepts Bitcoin? No, not a regulated one. I mean, something like one broker accepts Bitcoin and lets you trade stocks and gold and silver and like the popular stocks and the S&P 500 and the foreign stock markets. So they let you trade that with your Bitcoin, but it's unregulated and anything can happen. What would your advice be to President Donald Trump in regards to Bitcoin? Oh, man. My advice to Trump would be, because Bitcoin is here and Bitcoin is probably here to stay, my advice to Trump would be, the way he hates taxes, he should have a similar view on KYC AML regulation. So my advice to Trump, that would be actually terrible advice. That would be like the Bitcoiners would, like, I would be probably more hated than Roger Ver at the moment. My advice to Trump, again, this is where it's difficult. This is where I might not take the phone call, because I might be too honest and tell Trump, yeah, if you really want Bitcoin to go away, can we just remove all AML laws? Like, let's remove money laundering from the law books. Let's eliminate those laws. The way you want to eliminate tax law and simplify it, can we just completely simplify money laundering laws and eliminate them? And if the moment money laundering laws are eliminated, Bitcoin, the only advantage that Bitcoin has over the US dollar would be the fact that it's a finite supply. It's not an inflationary currency. It's a finite supply currency versus an inflationary currency like the dollar. And we honestly don't know which is better. Up to about 3 years ago, I always believed that inflationary currency was bad for the world, and we should have, a deflationary currency or a finite supply currency. I'm not so convinced anymore. Like, let's just say I'm way more pro Federal Reserve today than I was 2 years ago, 3 years ago when I joined the crypto movement. So my advice to Trump would actually be somewhat anti-Bitcoin, because I would want to eliminate money laundering laws, and that's like 80% of why Bitcoin is useful to the world. So I'm probably not the best person to advise Trump on Bitcoin. Okay, so here's my view of the U.S. stock market since the creation of the Federal Reserve. This chart is actually unique to me. I put it together. I did kind of steal the idea from a chart from 2012, but if the guy isn't going to update it, I will do it. And I just need to publish this at in certain places. And like stock market gets in this run, like a 15-year run where it doesn't do anything, and then it has a couple of crashes. One of them usually loses 50% of the value of the stock market. We had 2 of them in this 15-year stretch. Was a little shorter this time, only 12 years. Was a little longer in the 70s. And I think that's it. I think we bottomed and off we go. And then, the S&P 500 will reach a top somewhere above 75,000 for the Dow Jones. And right now we're at like 20,000, 21 maybe. I don't even know. And yeah, I took away the right-hand scale just because. So I'm very bullish. I mean, it's always been bullish. You had the Great Depression, you swung out of the channel and then you kind of crashed and then out of the channel. So it was bad, but we're in the channel and it's all clean. So let's see, if we get to 75,000 and then maybe we'll crash down to like 40,000 and then everyone is going to talk about how the Dow is going to zero and then, goes up above 100,000. Who knows? It's just a much safer long-term investment. I mean, Apple isn't going anywhere. Google isn't going anywhere. Amazon isn't going anywhere. I mean, IBM might go out of business because I think they're just complete. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, I think it's like each blockchain project that they put out is just stupider than a previous one. It's absolutely amazing. What was their latest one? Blockchain, to solve air pollution. I don't even know. It was, man, it's bad. But the new companies, they're new. I mean, look, there are companies in the Dow Jones that have been around for like 80 years. Maybe not anymore, but trying to think what the oldest company is. Well, even let's say Microsoft, right? I mean, Microsoft has been around since 1980, 1981. So has Apple, right? And they're going strong. I mean, Microsoft stock is at all-time highs by market cap because of that damn Surface everyone makes fun of me for. But guess what? That's going to be like their best-selling product. I think it's great. And they're at all-time highs. And companies like Netflix and Amazon and Tesla, I mean, these are new. These are new companies. Only been around 15 years in existence. They got like another 20, 30 years to go before they stop innovating and become, dead weight. And if they're like Microsoft and Apple, they'll continue to innovate. Though Apple is having a bit of an issue with innovation now that Steve Jobs is no longer with us. All right, whoa, questions are piling up. Okay. If situation escalates with Syria, how might this affect the markets? I think it'll be positive for the markets. It's clearly going to be positive for oil. It'll probably be positive for the stock markets in general because people are starting to get scared of government and they don't want to give government money. But they got to give money to somebody, right? So they trust the private stock market more than they trust the public government space. So I think it's independent. I think Trump lowering taxes would send a lot of money into the stock market. Not only will people think that all these companies are going to make more money because they have to pay less taxes, they will have to pay less taxes themselves by putting the money in the stock market and earning a return. So, and obviously, the price of oil goes up with the Syria situation. Where is it likely to go to the upside? Follow the channel. I don't know what channel. Like again, here's the channel for the Dow Jones, and clearly the upside is near 100,000 on the Dow Jones. I mean, here is the. I think somebody told me how to extend this channel. I think right click and nah, I don't see it. Anyway, I don't think we're gonna stay in the channel forever. I think sooner or later we're gonna fall out of the channel. Now the question is, will we bust above the channel and then crash below the channel? Kind of like the Dow Jones did in the Great Depression. This is what you have to. This is what you have to watch out for, right? And we're not having that in the stock market. This is the scary part, even for Bitcoin, right? If Bitcoin does what the stock market did in the 1920s, and it goes, let's see how far above the channel we went, right? Oh, wait, I don't know what price this was at. Shoot. This is what happens when you don't have a right-hand scale. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what price it was, right? So what might happen is if Bitcoin goes out of the channel to the upside, right? And let's say Bitcoin, what do we got here? June. Oh, yeah, the channel is pretty damn steep, guys. See, if Bitcoin goes to $3,000 by the end of the year, we're in the channel and there is no problem at all. No bubble, no issues. If Bitcoin is at 3 Gs in December. But, it's a big but. If Bitcoin is at $3,000, which is right here, I hope you can see my cursor. If Bitcoin is at $3,000 by Independence Day in the US, which is July 4th, we would be significantly above the channel by a good 40%. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. And that's a bubble, which means it might crash all the way down out of the channel and bring us back down to current territory of 1175. Okay? And you don't want that. You don't want that. Even if you are, I mean, if you are a big trader and you're going to cause this bubble and you're going to ride this bubble into 3,000 into July, and then you're going to sell at the top and you're going to watch the crash all the way down to 1175, and then you're going to buy back at the low, you will be very, very rich. But the market is going to get destabilized. Newbies that are going to come in, they're going to buy all this shit above 2,000, and they're going to get hurt. They're going to get hurt badly. This is like 2013. I had one friend that bought $1,000. I only had two friends that bought Bitcoin. Like two friends like that I had before I learned about Bitcoin. Only two friends bought it. One of them picked it up at around 600. The other one picked it up at 1,000. So he had to wait 3 years to go green. I mean, he waited, but he had to wait 3 years to go green. The other one didn't have to wait as long, right? You see, he got in at 600. So it'll be bad. So you don't want that. You want 3,000 at the end of the year. You don't want 3,000 by the summer, because if we go too high too fast, it's gonna go down even faster. And learn from the Great Depression, guys. You know, when it goes out of control to the upside, it goes out of control to the downside. And you can blame the Fed all you want, but we haven't had the raging 20s that to give us the outcome of the Great Depression. I mean, yes, this also happened on the Fed's watch, but the Fed was very, very new. The government doesn't do great things, but market has not gone out of the channel. Now, if the Dow Jones goes to 100,000, you know, by the end of this decade, that's going to be very, very bad, and then we're probably going to crash back to, like, you know, out of the channel, right? So it's the same thing, right? If the Dow Jones goes out of the channel, it's probably going to crash hard out of the channel to the downside, right? Like you don't want it going to like 100,000 right here and then crashing that back down to 10,000. That would be bad. That would be similar to the Great Depression, by the way, which I think is possible, but it needs to go way up first and then it goes down. Okay. Next, probably spent way too much time on that question. I wasn't even sure what the question was either. If SegWit is activated, how long does the process take? I honestly I don't know. It takes a while. I think once signaling for SegWit is complete, even on Bitcoin, I think it'll still take like months for it to get in. So, I mean, your best case scenario is SegWit being used by the end of the year. It's kind of like your best case scenario. And it's fine because blocks aren't even full. Next question. I know you call Dash a scam. Thank you. How long do you think is Dash going to survive? Weeks, months, years? Well, I don't know what your definition of survive is, right? I mean, Aurora coin survived. It's still around. Paycoin is still around. You can probably still trade it. Has a market cap. These coins never die. Look, I think once SegWit is fully in place, a Bitcoin dominance index goes back to like 95%. And unless the big blockers are going to come up with some more bullshit stopping the price from going up. I don't know. At this point, I don't even know if it's strategy so they can buy Bitcoin on the cheap. I don't even know at this point. Yeah, these things never really die, but definitely not weeks and definitely not months. I mean, Dash will be around. Dash will probably have some value next year, but not much longer than that, in my opinion. Well, with people throwing out $500,000 per Bitcoin, I'm assuming, that's a tough question. When you put a $sign and a Bitcoin and BTC on it, I don't know if you're talking about Bitcoins or dollars or price per Bitcoin, but people throwing out $500,000 per Bitcoin, I don't throw out $500,000 per Bitcoin. If that happens tomorrow, everything goes to zero. I mean, that's not sustainable, guys. It's insanity. Do you see it growing like in 2013? No. See, situations like Japan, with 200,000 stores accepting Bitcoin, they're going to prevent that from happening because people will have outlets to spend their Bitcoin. So right now, I think it's kind of useless. In the future, you kind of want these avenues to come up so you can spend them. No, people will spend the Bitcoin, right? Like once the price of a Bitcoin goes to like $2,000-$3,000, I know I'm probably gonna, maybe, pay off my mortgage or something, right? Like I'm gonna use some. I mean, I'm not gonna just let it sit there. No, people will start using it, right? Once people become rich, they're gonna use that money, right? I mean, I can't. I don't want to fly, coach squeezed into the back of an airplane all over the world the rest of my life, right? I am going to want to fly first class sooner or later. So this money will be spent. So it's and Bitcoin has this really cool economic dynamic where people do a lot. Like Bitcoin was, I think the highest amount of Bitcoin that was like spent for commerce was when it was, over $1,000 back in 2013. People start to spend it. Right. If the all-time high comes on an exponential spike, like in 2013, you're going to have a prolonged bear market, like in the Great Depression. But we already talked about that. All right, next question. All right, been going for an hour. Oh man, I still see about 7 questions. What is your guess of the approximate date SegWit will activate? And do you think the market will be affected by the delays like Litecoin seems to be? I know nothing on that. I mean, I have not even looked at the rules to activate SegWit. I've been too busy convincing people that SegWit is the way to go. If I had to randomly throw a date, I would love to, have SegWit activate around Christmas time, around New Year's, around Christmas. Just so the conspiracy theorists would get really riled up, like the Fed was created on Christmas Day, and then they're going to be like, well, they pushed SegWit in on Christmas Day. We were all busy with our families, just so there's that, the conspiracy of the SegWit for the next 100 years if Bitcoin stays alive. That'd be perfect. Very poetic. Next question. You mentioned some days, weeks earlier that there was a chance that people like Vitalik Buterin and Fluffy Pony could be arrested. Could you elaborate, please? Fluffy Pony, not so much, for several reasons. One, Fluffy Pony didn't blatantly sell a security, breaking all kinds of securities laws in the US. Second, Fluffy Pony is not a US citizen. I'm not sure if Vitalik is or isn't a US citizen. If Vitalik is a US citizen, that's going to be bad for him. But Evan is in that boat, right? Like Evan, there's plenty of evidence that Evan pre-mined his coin. So that could be considered a security that he made for himself. Vitalik obviously sold a security. I mean, it's blatantly obvious that they sold a security, which is why I was against Ethereum from the pre-sale crowd sale. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to elaborate on, right? I mean, what was stopping Vitalik from taking all your money and never building Ethereum? Absolutely nothing. And the reason why that law exists is to prevent people like Vitalik from taking your money and doing nothing with it. And I understand that Vitalik actually used that money to build you a platform, but 90%, 99% of the other people wouldn't have done that, right? And you may hate the laws, but that's why these laws exist. So Vitalik, you can't avoid the law by doing something that like presenting it. Like, for example, I'm trying to come up with a good example here. Like you can't steal money and then hand it to charity, right? So if you stole someone's money, but then you gave it all to charity, you can't then claim you did good with the money. I mean, the government kind of does it, right? I mean, like the government takes your money in taxes and then they give it to other people, and that's fine, but you can't do it, right? You can't do that. Like, you can't come into my house, take my money, and then give it away and then claim to be above the law because you gave that money to charity and I wasn't going to. Just because the outcome was good doesn't mean you didn't break laws to do it. And I am not a lawyer. I am not a regulator. But to me, it was blatantly obvious that Vitalik broke all kinds of laws creating Ethereum and the way he sold that token. Now, that is completely independent of Ethereum's usefulness, which I believe there isn't any, right? And Ethereum's usefulness right now seems to be a platform to create scam ICOs, which is itself may or may not be a violation of laws, but I don't know. That one is debatable. But to me, in my non-professional opinion on regulatory and securities law, it was blatantly obvious that what Vitalik and that team did was an illegal security sale. And I think sooner or later, Vitalik is going to pay the consequences of that deal, whether that security made people money or not. And it clearly made people money. What's your opinion on Bitcoin's market cap or until price or unit price potential longer term, assuming mainstream adoption acceptance? I don't even care for mainstream adoption or mainstream acceptance. I really don't care about that anymore. Those were my 2013 days before I kind of understood what Bitcoin is good for. And a lot of people coming into Bitcoin haven't realized that yet. And some people that were even in it longer than me still haven't realized it. I mean, this is it. I mean, as long as we're in the channel, we're in the channel. I mean, it's what I say for the Dow Jones. As long as we're in the channel, we're in the channel. Though the height from the top of the channel to the bottom of the channel is pretty damn high. But that's because we have 100 years of history for the Dow Jones. we have way less history for Bitcoin, and this particular bullish channel only begins, when does the channel start? Probably right here, low point, August 2015. And don't forget, guys, I'm still looking for October 14th to potentially be the hit of the top of the channel, and then we fall. So August 14th is here, which is 2,300 right now, right? So if we go above that and we break out of the channel, that will make me nervous. I mean, I don't want to cause a panic. I don't want to cause a sell. I have people watching me. But if we break out above the channel, I don't know. I might have to sell. I'll have to figure out the tax ramifications of that. But I might be forced to sell. I mean, I don't want to sit on a collapsing bubble out of the channel to the downside if we go above the channel to the upside. But as long as we're on a channel, I mean, but even a fall from the top of the channel to the bottom of the channel is gonna hurt, because if we hit the top of the channel in August, what, 2,300? Let's say 2,300 right here, right? I know my cursor is small. It sucks. I know. 2,300, and then we quickly fall to the bottom of the channel. That's 2,300 down to 1,600. That's big. That's big. It's a huge capital loss. What books would you recommend to better understand technical analysis? I don't have any books to recommend, guys. I mean, I've been doing this for coming on 15 years now. I know I'm old, and read a couple of books, but I always hated books. I don't read books. Go to a website called Stock Charts. Go to stockcharts.com. They have the section called Chart School. It's absolutely excellent. And just go through it one page at a time. Or, by the way, people have been hitting me up to teach them technical analysis. So I've been doing several hours of my consulting have been spent going through my technical analysis presentation. I taught a one-day course at Acapulco, so I have a presentation, or just go through real-life examples and learn that way. I don't have any books I can recommend. Do you think a Litecoin has any chance of SegWit now that the Chinese pools are blocking it? No, of course it has a chance of SegWit, right? It's Litecoin can also force a user-activated one. I mean, look, Litecoin can just do it. I mean, it's Litecoin. I mean, if Charlie Lee says let's do it, they'll do it. Again, it also means Litecoin is a little more centralized because people listen to Charlie Lee. Satoshi's not really around, which is a good thing. Even after ASICBoost revelations, it seems like getting 95% of miner support is still impossible. Do you think Core will adopt user-activated soft fork? Yeah, it's looking that way. It's certainly looking like user-activated soft, because they're not going to get 95%. Holy shit, Rich! There's like another 10 questions? What the? Yeah, I'm gonna have to speed this up. We're already at hour 15 minutes in. Yeah, it looks like user-activated soft fork's the way to go. 95% probably will never happen. They should lower it to 90%, in my opinion. Assuming your Bitcoin channel holds, when will Bitcoin hit USD 10,000? Well, let's see. It's a very easy question for me to answer. Oh, dude. That'll take a little while. I don't want to extend this channel anymore. It's so freaking difficult, guys. I'm just going to do it mentally. Oh, where's my date? Damn it. I don't have a date. Whatever date that is. How come there's no date? When is 2000? Oh, man. Okay, so May, June 13th. So this should be like July, August. Okay, let's do it this way. Hold on a second. So here, that's the beginning of the year. That's the beginning of the year. This is halfway through the year. So if I double that, so this is the beginning of 2019. Yeah, so by my best estimate, you're looking at November, December 2019. No, sorry, 2018. At the end of 2018. That's when the channel will cross 10,000. It's not gonna happen though. Like it's let me show you guys something. Like this is how it's probably going to look like. Pretend that the blue line is like the channel. It's not gonna stay above it, right? It'll probably stay below it. All right, next question. Do you think there will be a major economic collapse in the next few years, 2008 times 100? If not, how can the US inflate its way out? I do not think there's going to be a 2008 style collapse, not even close to 2008 collapse times 100. There could be a big collapse, but remember, the stock market doesn't have to collapse. Other things could collapse and things could get bad, and people might throw their money at the stock market. That's also possible. We haven't had that in a while, so maybe. The US can't inflate anything. I mean, the US wishes it can create inflation. It can't. Why have you changed your tune on inflationary national currencies? Have you heard of the work of Steve Keen? I have, actually. Did his work change your mindset? I don't know if it changed my mindset. Look, I'm not happy with the inflationary currency. I'm not. But I also can't deny the fact that we've had inflationary currency for 100 years. And look at this. I'm doing a live show. I'm live streaming this. I'm trading from my house. I'm working from home. I'm working on my own. I'm doing what I love. I'm not going to an office. Look at all the technology around me. My life is so much easier now than it even was 10 years ago. And not to mention 100 years ago. Like, I don't know if life would have been better today if we didn't have inflationary currency. I don't know if the internet would have been invented, right? Like, I don't know. The reason I changed my mind is because I've come to the realization that hyperinflating money for the private sector, and this is important, for the private sector to try and build companies and products and innovation helps grow economies and, helps humans. I think what government does is absolutely terrible. I think government printing money, is borrowing money actually at interest, is terrible. I want to restrict the ability of government to spend $3 trillion a year while only, bringing in $2 trillion a year from taxes, right? And I think we're overpaying them. I think the U.S. government collects about $2 trillion in taxes every year. I think we're giving them too much money. They can't even live within their means of $2 trillion a year. They're spending $3 trillion a year. We're only giving them $2 trillion. I think that's even more atrocious, right? My problem isn't with hyperinflation and hypothecation of money at 10 to 1. My problem is when government does it. I don't have a problem if private banks are somewhat responsible for giving out business loans and doing, kind of creating money out of thin air, I'm okay with that model. What I'm not okay with is government spending. So it's a bit of a complicated answer, but that's kind of it, because anyone that tells you that we would be better off today if only we had gold as money cannot prove that we would even have internet today under that model. So you really got to take them to task on that. And after I thought about these dynamics some more, I'm not as critical of inflationary money as much. Hey, we got South Dakota in the house. Well, I didn't say I was pro-Federal Reserve. I just said I understand Federal Reserve much better today than I did 3 years ago. And yeah, I understand it much better. And I'm not pro-Federal Reserve, but I also don't want to see a collapse, right? Like, they're there. It's kind of like, if you're all Bitcoiners, and at least that's the majority of my audience, it's kind of like, well, we need 2 megabyte blocks. Yeah, but when Satoshi put in the 1 megabyte limit, it's possible he didn't realize that reversing that would be a hard fork, and we can't do that. And they're like, well, we don't care. It's like, yeah, but what's done is done. You have to work within your system today, because going back to unlimited blocks or even 2 megabyte blocks can cause the destruction of Bitcoin. And their answer is, well, we don't care. And that's just, that's not open-minded. So we have the Fed. Unless you have a time machine to prevent it, we have it. So eliminating the Fed would basically destroy the markets. Everyone would lose their jobs. People will probably start killing each other because it would be like the markets would crash. So you don't want that. So at this point, you kind of want to keep the system going. It's not ideal, but it's what we have. Screaming eliminate the Fed is like screaming, I want everyone I know to potentially lose their job and the US economy to implode. And yeah, it might happen one day by itself, but doing it sooner than later may not be ideal. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so I explained why I'm not saying I'm pro inflationary currency. I'm just saying that I don't know if it would have been better without inflationary currency. Just think about all of the innovations in the last 100 years under inflationary currency, and then you would have to convince me that it would have been better. Because remember, if your grandfather or great-grandfather put your family's life savings in the stock market at the peak of 1929, you are a very rich man today. A very rich man. And that's after you lost 90% of your money in the Great Depression. Okay? Because, you know what? Let me add a scale. Scale, right axis. At the peak of the Great Depression, the value of the Dow Jones was 400. Today, the value of the Dow Jones is 2,100. Okay. No, I'm sorry, 21,000. Right. So you got to do the math. You got to take 400 for every $400 in the stock market. And yes, I know $400 was very valuable back then, and they're not all that valuable today. You would now have $21,000, and that is not including dividends reinvested. Dividends reinvested, you would be like off the scale. Okay. Compounding interest. Compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Okay. So, yeah. So you could have profited from all this printing and inflation by keeping your money in the stock market. Stop listening to doom porn. What are the chances now that some BU actors will sabotage Bitcoin? Oh, 1 second, guys. What are the chances now that some BU actors will sabotage Bitcoin now that the ASICBoost issues come out into the open? You know what? A lot of Bitcoin Unlimited people feel that they got fooled and they're switching sides to SegWit, and they should. And there's always going to be people that need to prove that they're right. And the thing is, no one really has the power to sabotage Bitcoin. And Bitcoin Core has kicked all those people out. I mean, the best way to sabotage, the only way to sabotage Bitcoin really is to put something scammy into the core code. And I don't see that happening as long as Core is in charge. If Core is not in charge, I'm out. I'm not going to trust it. And I could be wrong, right? Maybe I backed the wrong horse. Maybe my trust in Core is blindsiding me. That's possible. But the only reason why I believe in Bitcoin is because I believe in the developers at Core. And if I don't trust those developers, I have no reason to be doing these 2-hour videos. Which companies will benefit more from artificial intelligence and anti-gravity? I honestly don't know. I've had a long week. I've had a long month, actually. And this is way too deep for me to think about right now. Try to ask me again at a later time. It's a good question, though. I can't waste the brain power. I don't have the brain power right now. The video is going on too long. Why is Bitcoin increasing in price and SegWit not yet solved? Oh, good question, which I've answered like almost every single week, but I'll answer it again. Next week, all-time high mean, well, I don't think it'll be all-time high next week, but we're getting there. Because this is what you have to understand about speculative trading. And I go back to the halving event. Here's the halving. When did the price go up? Right here. The price went up in May. The price peaked in June. The halving happened in July, and then it was still going down into August because the money is made way before the event. Like with Litecoin, all the money was made before F2 Pool informed the world that Litecoin is going to be, that they're going to support SegWit. All the money in the SegWit price appreciation is going to be made way before 90% miner compliance is reached. It'll be made way before user-activated soft fork reaches its limits. People speculate. People want to be the first. This is why the moment the ASIC news broke, the price went up because there was clarity. The moment people even think that there is a chance SegWit will eventually be adopted, even if it's like in 8 years, it doesn't matter. As long as people think that SegWit will eventually go into Bitcoin, the moment you realize it's getting SegWit, you're buying Bitcoin. Some people realized it last week. Some people, I always realized it. I always thought Bitcoin was getting SegWit. That's why I was confident throughout this whole crash that hold the Bitcoin. The moment you as a trader realize SegWit will eventually go in, you buy. And that's why it's going up now, way before we reach any kind of a metric. All right, hey, Rich, this is it. No more questions, man. I can't do this for 8 hours. All right, I got 3 questions left. Oh, I really got to put a giant cup of water next to me next time. What is your opinion on the BitSeed plug and play full core nodes? I'm honestly not too familiar with them. I'm probably going to be skeptical. I think this can put UASF over the top. I have no financial position in BitSeed. Is BitSeed that bank in a box thing? Here's what worries me. Who updates the software? If BitSeed updates the software, this is bad. This is very, very bad. If you have full control of the software, it's it's potentially bad because you need to kind of know what you're doing. because if you're not going to update that software, you're going to be running an outdated box in a year or two. And then instead of signaling for an update, a good positive update, you're going to be like the abstain vote. And then we're going to get to a situation where half of the nodes don't signal anything. And that's also not good, right? So the only way this BitSeed box is good is if you have full control of the software and you are notified, what you're voting for, and then you can have some kind of a simple way to vote and do software updates and things like that. People are lazy. If you can't, if you don't know enough about what you want from Bitcoin, you shouldn't run a node. You should only run a node if you're actually going to actively participate and vote for what you actually want. If you're going to let someone else vote for you with this box, that can be bad, because if these boxes are like 20 or 30% of the system, then the creator of the box has like 20 or 30% of the world when it comes to voting on for or against SegWit. So I'm not. I would need to know more, but I'm going to be skeptical that this is a good thing. Let's put it that way. Oh man. Okay, next. What do you think? What percentage of people use Bitcoin as a form of payment, trade, versus buy and hold investment versus speculative traders? Guys, I don't think anybody uses this shit. I don't think anyone uses Bitcoin. Like almost nobody. Like if you take the entire Bitcoin community, it's like 90% of all Bitcoin spending is gonna be like gray markets. There's like maybe 10% of the people. Like I would never use my Bitcoin, almost never. Like I'll pay for a VPN service. That's it. I'll use my credit card everywhere else. The majority buy and hold. A bunch of traders, but traders, they're not. Those transactions aren't hitting the blockchain, right? I mean, they're channels, right? I mean, they're trading on Bitfinex, they're trading on BTCE. They're not spamming the blockchain, right? I think there's a lot of traders. People want to trade in an unregulated environment, and then they bitch and complain when their Bitcoin gets stolen. I mean, I don't know what they want me to do about it. Why wouldn't the next bubble be a fractal of the last? Well, that's because of the way Bitcoin is scaling. It wouldn't be because it's much harder to go from 1,000 to 10,000 than it is from 10 to 100 or from 100 to 1,000, because the market cap grows by 10, and that's very, very difficult. It's a lot easier, to increase your pay from $1 to 10 than to increase your pay from 10 to 100 and then to increase your pay from 100 to 1,000, right? So, I mean, we do have these logarithmic charts. Again, I'll go back to the Dow. We do have these logarithmic charts, but it's a lot easier to go up like this and down like this than it is to do that today. I mean, look, this is even the 1987 crash. You can barely see it. And that was a 23% fall in the price, right? So it's a lot harder to go exponential to 100,000 on the Dow because it's just so much money. People don't have enough money to drive it that way. Same thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has the same problem. Man, this is a problem right now. You see the price of gold is $12.55, and you can see it right there in my upper tab. And the price of Bitcoin is like $12.20, and it's so similar. And now I'm confused which one I'm looking at. And I'm like, for a second there, I thought Bitcoin just hit $12.55. So they really need to separate in value here. All right, guys, I think I'm done on that note. I do want to mention one last time that I did talk about One Broker a little bit, and I do want to put a disclaimer that One Broker is an unregulated exchange, and if you are going to use it, please be careful. Only put money there that you're willing to lose. but I say that about every exchange, whether it's Bitfinex, whether it's Bitstamp, whether it's BTCE, because not only can it be stolen by internal players, it can also be hacked from external players. So there are definitely issues all around, okay? So be careful, but if you are going to trade there, please use my affiliate code. I mean, that's the one way you can help out the show. Bitmax, I also threw my old code back on there. I haven't posted that anywhere in years, but it's in the description of the video. All right. Oops. On that note, please. Where am I here? On that note, this is the end of the show. It's gone for about an hour and a half. I will be updating my blog, and thank you very much for your donations. I'm now up to almost 200 live viewers. They pick up towards the end during Q&A. I did talk about all the markets, so please go back to the beginning and watch the show. All right, talk to everyone later.